Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something that might seem kind of boring at first, online courses, But this one's got a twist.
Okay.
Imagine getting fired for taking too many online courses.
Oh.
That's what happened to a bunch of employees at Ernst & Young.
Ernst & Young.
Yeah, one of the biggest accounting firms in the whole world.
I see.
So we're going to deep dive into this and try to understand how something that seems so simple could have such crazy consequences.
Yeah.
And also what it says about the world of professional development.
Interesting.
So to kick things off, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what happened.
Sure.
What's the backstory here?
So it all starts with EY's Ignite Learning Week.
Okay.
It's this week-long program, and it was designed to help their employees earn CPE credits.
Right.
You know, those continuing professional education credits that accountants in the U.S. need to keep their certifications.
Yeah, exactly. These CPE credits, they're not just like a docs you check.
Right.
They're about staying current, like staying on top of your game.
Absolutely.
In a field where accuracy, ethical conduct, it's super important.
It's paramount.
You need these credits to prove you're keeping up with all the latest developments, the new regulations, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And that's critical for accountants.
Yeah.
Right? You got to make sure you're doing things by the book.
Exactly. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
People trust accountants with their whole lives, their finances, their businesses.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. So making sure that these professionals are constantly learning, updating their knowledge and skills.
Right.
It's just essential.
So EY puts on this Ignite Learning Week to help their employees get those CPE credits. Seems like a good thing, right?
Yeah, on the surface.
But that's where things get a little
dicey.
Yeah, a little dicey.
Some of the EY employees, they were trying to be efficient. They were using multiple monitors to attend several training sessions at once.
Oh, wow.
Trying to rack up those CPE credits.
So they were multitasking, basically.
Yeah. You could say that.
And these days, multitasking is almost
it's like breathing.
Yeah, it's you got to do it to survive.
Right.
But EY saw this as a violation.
A big violation.
Yeah, of their code of conduct.
Of their code of conduct, exactly.
What was their reasoning behind that?
Well, they argued that, if you're attending multiple sessions at the same time, you can't really be fully engaged in any of them.
You can't. Yeah.
And that means you're not really understanding the material.
Right.
And ultimately, that compromises the learning process.
Makes sense.
And by extension, it could compromise the ethical standards of the whole profession.
It's a slippery slope, I guess.
Right.
So you've got these employees, they're trying to manage their time.
Trying to be efficient.
Yeah. And they're probably working a lot of hours already.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking, 45, 50-hour weeks.
Yeah. And they're expected to complete these CPE credits on top of that. So they're like, okay, well, how do we make this work?
Right.
And then you've got the firm saying, no, focus is key. Ethics are everything.
Right.
It's kind of like two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a tricky situation.
It is.
And to understand EY's stance a little better, it's helpful to look at their recent history.
Okay.
Back in 2022, they got hit with this massive fine from the SEC, $100 million.
Whoa.
Yeah, because some of their auditors were caught cheating on ethics exams.
Oh, wow.
That's not good.
Not good at all.
So you can see why they'd be super sensitive to anything that even looks like an ethical violation.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to be extra cautious.
Absolutely. They don't want any more scandals.
Right.
So they're coming down hard on anything that could be perceived as, cutting corners.
Even if it wasn't intentional, like in this case.
Yeah, even if the employees weren't trying to cheat, just trying to manage their time.
But some of the employees who were fired, they felt like this whole crackdown on multitasking during training, it didn't really match up with the culture at EY.
Right. They felt like there was a bit of a disconnect.
A disconnect, yeah.
Because, some former employees have talked about this multitasking culture at EY.
A multitasking culture.
Yeah, where juggling multiple things at once is not just common, it's expected.
So it's do as I say, not as I do kind of thing.
It kind of seems that way.
That's kind of confusing for the employees, right?
It is. It creates this confusing situation where the rules for learning seem different from the rules for working.
And I heard there was even an anecdote about a partner.
Yeah, there was this story about a partner who was on 2 client calls at the same time.
2 client calls at once.
At once, yeah.
That's
multitasking?
serious multitasking, yeah.
Yeah. So you can see why some employees might have felt like there was a double standard going on.
Like, why is it okay for the partners but not for us?
Exactly.
That's a tough one.
It is. It's a tough one.
And I think this whole situation, it really highlights this tension that we're seeing more and more as online learning becomes more common. On one hand, online learning offers so much potential.
It's efficient, it's accessible.
It's convenient, yeah.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, how do you make sure the quality is there?
How do you ensure the integrity of the learning?
Especially in fields like accounting, where ethics are so important.
Exactly.
It seems like we're in this weird in-between phase.
A transitional period.
Where the technology is moving faster than our understanding of how to use it responsibly.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like we're playing catch-up.
We are?
Trying to figure out how to make this work, how to get the benefits without compromising on the things that really matter.
Right, like ethical conduct, deep understanding.
The core values.
The core values.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
It is a challenge.
And it's one that we need to address head on.
Absolutely, because this is the future of learning,
It is. It's already happening.
We got to figure this out.
We do.
So what do you think? Like, where do we go from here?
Well,
How do we navigate this new world of online learning and make sure we're not losing sight of what's truly important?
Right.
The ethics, the integrity.
It's a big question.
It's
It
so
is.
deep.
And I think it's a challenge that a lot of professions are facing right now.
Yeah, it really does feel like a turning point. And it makes you think, like, how do we even define engagement in an online learning environment?
Right. Like, what does it even mean to be engaged when you're learning online?
And are the guidelines for these online CPE courses, are they clear enough?
That's a good question.
Like, do they really address the unique challenges that come with online learning?
Because it's not the same as being in a classroom, is it?
Not at all.
There are distractions, temptations to multitask.
And how can organizations, how can they really be sure that their employees are getting it, that they're actually absorbing the information and not just, clicking through it?
Right, because it's not about checking boxes. It's about actually learning and applying the knowledge ethically.
And especially in a field like accounting, where, one small mistake.
It can have huge consequences.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's a really important question. How do we make sure online learning is effective and ethical?
It's like we're in this weird phase where the technology has gotten so advanced.
Right.
But our understanding of how to use it, in a way that's beneficial for everyone.
And ethically.
Yeah, ethically, that's still catching up.
We're still figuring out the best practices,
It's a work in progress.
Exactly.
And it's not just about, watching a video or clicking through a PowerPoint.
No, it's about internalizing the knowledge.
Making it your own.
Yeah, developing those critical thinking skills that you need to make good judgments in real-world situations.
And in accounting, those judgments can be, really high stakes.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about people's money, their livelihoods.
So there's no room for error.
No, you really got to know what you're doing.
And I think that's why it's so important to be having these conversations.
Yeah, we need to talk about this more.
To be open and honest about the challenges of online learning.
And to figure out solutions together.
Because organizations need to be proactive.
Absolutely. They need to set clear expectations.
Provide the right training and resources.
And create a culture that values both efficiency and ethical conduct.
It's got to be both.
It can't be one or the other.
And it's not just on the organizations, right?
No, it's on individuals too.
We all have a responsibility to approach online learning with integrity.
To really engage with the material.
To not just try to, get it over with as quickly as possible.
Right, because at the end of the day, if we're not really learning, we're only cheating ourselves.
And this whole EY situation, it's it's a reminder.
A wake-up call.
Yeah, that even small choices can have big ethical implications.
And those implications can go way beyond just the individual.
Yeah, they can affect the whole organization.
The profession, even society as a whole.
It's bigger than just one person.
It really is.
So what do we do? How do we move forward?
Well, I think we need to start by recognizing that online learning isn't a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right. What works for one profession might not work for another.
Exactly. And we need to be more thoughtful about how we design these online training programs.
Yeah, taking into account the specific needs of each field.
And the ethical considerations.
Yeah, because those are going to be different for every profession.
Right.
And we need to be more aware of the dangers of multitasking.
Especially when you're trying to learn something complex.
Something that requires your full attention.
Because sometimes slowing down and focusing on one thing at a time is actually the most efficient way to learn.
It sounds counterintuitive, but it's true.
It is, and it's also the most ethical way.
Because you're giving the material the attention it deserves.
Right, and you're not cutting corners or trying to do too much at once.
And I think it's also about creating a culture of continuous learning.
Yes, where people are encouraged to be curious,
To ask questions.
to challenge assumptions,
And to really seek out that deeper understanding.
instead of just passively absorbing information.
To be active learners, engaged, and thinking critically.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's about fostering that mindset of always wanting to learn more.
That intellectual curiosity.
Exactly.
And that's on all of us.
Yeah, no matter what you do.
No matter what your job is, your field.
We should all be striving for that.
Absolutely.
And this whole thing with EY.
It's a real eye-opener.
It makes you think, you know?
Makes you examine your own habits.
Like, am I really learning?
Am I just going through the motions?
Or am I actually trying to understand?
Yeah, it's a good question to ask yourself.
But because at the end of the day,
it's not just about getting those credits.
or checking boxes.
It's about really understanding your field.
Mastering your craft.
And upholding those ethical standards.
Yeah, because that's what builds trust.
Trust with your clients, with the public.
Exactly. And without that trust,
The whole system breaks down.
So as we wrap up here,
Let's bring it back to our listeners.
I want to ask you all something.
Think about what you do.
Your own profession.
How has technology changed the way you learn?
Are there any gray areas?
Where you're maybe tempted to cut corners,
In the name of efficiency?
but maybe it compromises your learning.
Or even your ethics?
Those are the questions we need to be asking ourselves.
Because in the end,
It's not just about doing things right.
it's about doing the right things.
And that takes real thought
Careful consideration.
and a commitment to always keep learning.
Not just for the credits or the certification,
But for yourself
for your own growth.
and for the good of your profession.
Well said. It's been a great conversation.
It really has. Thanks for having me.
And to everyone listening,
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
we hope it's given you something to think about.
And maybe inspired you to take a closer look at your own learning journey.
Until next time,
Keep learning, keep questioning.
and keep striving for excellence in everything you do